The brief had said golden hour. The sky had said gray. The client had said, with the particular cheerfulness of someone who would not be standing in a field at 6 a.m., that they trusted the team completely. 2 out of 3, Eddie Brooks thought, squinting up at the flat, pewter ceiling of cloud. We can work with 2 out of 3. They were 40 minutes outside Marfa on a ranch road, shooting a spring campaign for a workwear client. Denim, canvas, the honest stuff, the kind of clothes that looked better with dirt on them. The concept was simple and good. A day in the life of people who actually worked with their hands. The execution was the part that was currently not happening, because the light that was supposed to make everything look like a Terrence Malick film had not shown up, and the talent, 2 real ranch hands the client had insisted on, in lieu of models which Eddie had championed and now slightly regretted, were standing around with the patience of men who had genuinely better things to do. Eddie loved this. He would not have admitted how much he loved this. The version of the job where everything went to plan was the boring version. Anybody could shoot a campaign when the light cooperated. The job, the actual job, the one he'd given his 30s to, was the gap between the brief and the reality. And standing in that gap with a camera and a problem was the only place Eddie ever felt completely, uncomplicatedly himself. "Okay," he said, mostly to himself, and the ranch hands looked over. "Okay, the gray's a gift. Hear me out." He had them turn their backs to where the sun should have been. He pulled the canvas jackets out of the truck, the Cybertruck, because of course it was the Cybertruck, parked on a Caliche ranch road like a prop from a different movie, which the client would either love or hate, and Eddie had stopped trying to predict which. He set the older of the 2 men against the truck's flat steel flank, and there it was. The gray light wrapped soft and even around a face that had spent 50 years outdoors, and the denim went deep and honest, and the absurd vehicle and the absolutely not absurd man made a frame that said something neither of them said alone. Old skin, new metal. Work that lasts. Work that's new. He didn't know what it meant yet. He knew it was true. "That's it," he said. "That's the campaign." He shot for an hour. Somewhere in there the clouds thinned just enough to put a rim of weak gold on the ridge behind them, and Eddie got the establishing wide he'd given up on, almost as an apology from the sky. By the time they wrapped, he had 3 frames he'd have bet money on, and a dozen he liked, and the warm, spent, slightly manic feeling of a day that had tried to go wrong and hadn't. Cole's text came in as he was loading gear. "On track? Need anything for tomorrow?" Eddie looked at the truck, the ranch hands shaking hands and heading off to do their real jobs, the long road back to town. "Everything's fine," he typed. "The lighting was not fine. Everything else is fine." He meant it as a joke. He didn't know yet that by August he'd think back on this as one of the last weeks where that sentence was true.